Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
And the second example, omega is what I described in the previous slide. Take the complex plane and remove all the negative real numbers, including 0. That is my omega. This open set, which we have discussed in the previous lectures as well, that C minus the non-positive reals. This is omega. Now again, if I take any curve gamma t, all points interior to gamma are again going to be inside gamma. Yeah. And then, as I have explained using dotted arrows, so for example, in the first case, you can convince yourself that gamma can be continuously deformed to a point, and that deformation I have explained through dotted arrows. So I have gamma, then I have a smaller curve gamma 1, then I have a smaller, even smaller curve gamma 2, and finally I will just have a constant curve. I can continuously deform gamma into a point. Same is true in the second example. This gamma t can be continuously deformed to a point, and I have sort of diagrammatically explained that. And so these are two.
What is the meaning of deform?
So, see, the problem is making this precise is a little bit difficult. That's why I'm not doing it. But deform means just sort of intuitively just move the curve a little bit. That's what I mean by deform. Yeah, deform means another curve, say gamma tilde, so that gamma of t is very close to gamma tilde of t for every t. Roughly speaking, then I will say that gamma tilde is a closed deformation of gamma. But by continuously deforming the curve gamma to a constant requires a little bit of work. Even the definition requires a little bit of work, which I'm not going into because the notion is very clear intuitively. Now let's look at two non-examples. Look at example 3. In this case, my gamma is like the first example, except that I have removed one point. There's a little cross and I have said point removed, right? So gamma is, take the outermost curve and remove one point from it. Now take the gamma which goes around that removed point once, like I have shown. The curve begins at x0, goes around that removed point and comes back. Now there is one point which is interior to gamma, which is not in gamma, namely the removed point. That is why omega is not simply connected here. And this is consistent with the fact that I cannot continuously deform gamma to a point. If I try to deform, I'll have to go past that removed point, but that point is not available to me, so I cannot deform gamma to a point. And example 4 is the annulus, that means the region between two concentric circles. Once again, take gamma which goes around the annulus, goes around the circle. All the interior, it has lots of interior points which are not in gamma. For example, the center of the circles is an interior point of gamma which is not in omega, is an interior point of gamma which is not contained inside omega, because omega is only the concentric region. So if you have any questions, ask.
Sir, please repeat the last example.
So last example, what is my omega? Omega is the region between the two concentric circles, right? I have drawn two concentric circles, right? My drawing is not very good, but pretend that they are circles, and the region between those two circles is my omega. That is my open set. First of all, I claim that this open set is not simply connected. To prove that this open set is not simply connected, I should give you a gamma whose interior is not contained inside omega. To prove omega is not simply connected, I should by definition give you a gamma whose interior is not contained inside omega. And what is such a gamma? Gamma is the curve in the concentric region which goes around once, like what I have drawn.
Okay, sir.
So you can see that the interior of gamma is not contained inside omega, right? All the region inside the first circle is interior to gamma, but it is not contained inside omega. Yeah, so these are two examples and two non-examples. Any other doubts? This is one of those notions which is intuitively quite easy. Making all this rigorous is a little bit difficult. This is the subject of a very beautiful area called algebraic topology, starting point of algebraic topology really, and it's a little bit difficult to make some of this precise, but I don't want to make the course 100% rigorous and make things too abstract and theoretical. So things which are intuitive, so few things which are intuitive, I'll leave it at that stage. Any other questions? So first of all, the examples of simply connectedness, let's go back to that. So C open disk and C minus the negative reals, including 0 actually, they are simply connected. The open annulus is not simply connected. And more generally, if I take an open set and if I remove any non-empty set of finite points, it is not simply connected. I explained in the figure how if I remove one point, it is not simply connected. Instead of removing one point, if I remove finitely many points, that finite set should be non-empty. Suppose I remove finitely many points, it is again not simply connected for the same reason. I mean, it becomes more and more, it becomes less and less simply connected in some sense. Situation only worsens if you remove more points. So that's not, yeah. So take any, for example, take the open disk and remove 100 points. That is not simply connected. And if you take any loop which goes around any of those points or goes around any of those finitely many points, the interior of that loop will not be contained inside omega. That's why it's not simply connected. So let me make a remark. The notion of simply connectedness makes sense for much more general spaces, but the definition is slightly complicated. This notion is the beginning of a very deep and beautiful area of mathematics called algebraic topology. And this area has strong connections with complex analysis and its higher dimensional analog, namely the area of several complex variables. So simply connectedness is really the beginning of it all.
Sir, by spaces, do you mean something like metric spaces?
Did you say metric spaces?
Yes.
Yeah, well, metric spaces or even more general space. I mean, there are spaces which are even more general than metric spaces, in particular metric spaces, yes. So for example, for any metric, so if you're familiar with metric spaces, for any metric space, one can talk about it being simply connected or not.
Okay.
Only one point is that I assume that my space is a domain. Look at the first line, a domain omega. So I always assume path connectedness when we talk about simply connectedness. If things are not path connected, then there are other issues. I don't want to get into. So always, whenever we talk about simply connectedness, we will assume that we are on a domain, which means a path connected open set.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So here is the more general form of Cauchy's theorem. So the reason why we introduced the simply connectedness is for the following theorem. This is more general form. So let omega be any simply connected domain in C. Let fz be a holomorphic function defined on omega. Let C be a simple closed contour in omega. Then integration fz dz along C is equal to 0. This is the more general version of Cauchy's theorem. It is still not the most general, but sort of more general. Of course, I have said that C is a simple closed contour for simplicity. C may be a union of simple closed contours. So I may have one closed contour, then another one next to it, and so on. Then the integral along that will also be 0 because I can break up the integral into sum of integrals along the simple closed contours. So that will also be 0. So this is the base case in some sense, the simple closed contours. Certain other cases can be deduced from it. Yeah. So let me just make. So let me touch upon another topic, which is see, all along we were assuming that our curve was smooth. So in case the path of integration is not differentiable, that means xt and yt are not differentiable functions of the parameter t, one can still make sense of the integral, much the same way as we define the Riemann integral. So let's see be a continuous rectifiable curve lying in a domain omega joining points P and Q. So rectifiable means its length exists. So in the beginning we have defined the length of any curve, right? This is how we defined the length of the curve. I forgot to introduce this word rectifiable here perhaps. So if limit of summation of mod pi plus 1 minus pi this exists, the curve is called rectifiable. Look at the second last line. So rectifiable basically means you can talk of length of the curve. There are curves which are not rectifiable and sort of have infinite arc length. There are such curves which we won't talk about. So coming back to this slide, suppose C is a continuous rectifiable curve lying in a domain omega joining points P and Q. Let f from omega to C be a holomorphic function on omega. Join the curve, divide the curve into n parts in any manner, z0, z1 up to zn, and on each of the points, on each of the paths, zi minus 1 to zi on the curve, choose a point zeta I on the curve between zi to zi plus 1 and consider this sum. Summation zi minus zi minus 1 times f of zeta I. So zeta I is some point in between zi minus 1 and zi. So choose take difference of this zi and zi minus 1 and multiply it by the value of the function at any point in between and take summation from 1 to n. So that is what I'm denoting in. And one shows that as n tends to infinity, this sum approaches a limit provided the length of each of these paths tends to 0. And furthermore, this limit is independent of the choice of subdivision as well as the path, as well as the point inside each path chosen to define this sum. So we chose arbitrary point zeta I between zi minus 1 and zi and took zi minus 1 and multiplied with the function of value of the function at zeta I. So this zeta I was arbitrarily chosen, but in the end, this limit is independent of the choice of subdivision. I mean, so in the limit, sorry, let me put it this way. This limit is independent of the choices of subdivision as well as the point chosen inside each path to define the sum. Yeah, so you just choose any set of points z0, z1 up to zn and keep increasing the points so that length of the arcs in between zi minus 1 and zi goes to 0 eventually, and take zi minus 1 and multiply it by the value of the function at any point in between and sum it over I and take this limit as number of points go to infinity. This limit exists and that is what we call integration fz dz from P to Q. We define this limit to be the integral of f along C, denoted as before as integration fz dz from P to Q. So this is how we define the integral in case the curve is only continuous and rectifiable but not necessarily smooth, not necessarily differentiable. Xt and yt are not differentiable. If you recall the way we defined the integral earlier, how was the integral defined? It was integration f of zt times z prime t dt. That was the integral, right? But for that z prime t has to exist in our earlier definition. Now this is the definition which works for any continuous rectifiable curve.
Sir?
Yeah.
So you're choosing that point between zi and zi plus 1, right?
I'm sorry. There's I should say zi and zi minus 1, not plus 1. That is a typo. Sorry.
Sir, can you give an example of a curve which is, I mean, rectifiable, but it's not piecewise smooth?
Rectifiable but not piecewise smooth. You see, there are these functions which it's a little bit hard to give an explicit example, but there are these functions which are continuous but nowhere differentiable, right? You must have seen in calculus. Continuous nowhere differentiable functions. they're continuous on a domain, but not differentiable at any domain. Using that, you can construct. But giving
if we join many different smooth functions together, the whole path is not smooth. So
you
is
want
that
an
an
example
example of this?
you want an example which is rectifiable but not smooth? Is that what you want? Sorry. What is the example?
Sir, I'd asked rectifiable but not piecewise.
Not piecewise, not even
Yeah, I mean,
not
using a
piecewise. Yeah, so it's that means that means so you see point that's not so difficult, right? Because for example, you can take take the sort of saw shaped curve. So I don't know, I don't have anything by which I can show it, you know, sort of see you can easily think of a curve with sort of ups and downs converging to some point, and the points of discontinuity may have a limit. So you may have a curve so that it's not differentiable at x1, it's not differentiable at x2, x3, etc. And all these xi's may have a limit which is L. In that case, it's not even piecewise differentiable, but because in any neighborhood of L, there are infinitely many points at which it is not differentiable. Yeah, just choose a curve in which the set of discontinuities has a limit point.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe a fractal of some kind.
Yeah, just the sort of seesaw shaped kind of curve, go. So this is the even stronger form of Cauchy's theorem. Let omega be a simply connected domain in C, fz a holomorphic function defined on omega, and let C be a smooth closed rectifiable curve inside omega. Sorry, not smooth. So let C be a simple closed rectifiable curve in omega. Then integration fz dz along C is equal to 0. This is an even stronger form of Cauchy's theorem. This is still not the most general form of Cauchy's theorem. There are stronger versions, but we won't go into that.
Is it possible to have a closed curve which is not rectifiable?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So first of all, you need to construct one example of a rectifiable curve, non-rectifiable curve, and then using that, you can always make it closed, right? So, you take something, take something like, look at this curve. Something like x square sine 1 by x. On the look at the graph of that function. So it sort of oscillates infinitely. You basically you can construct a curve which oscillates. So how does it look? As x, you take x square sine 1 by x, as x tends to 0, the graph oscillates infinitely, right? As you tend towards 0.
Yes.
Try drawing the curve. So yeah, so something like that or some curve that you get out, or some modification of this function will produce a curve which is not rectifiable. And once it is not rectifiable, you can always make it a closed curve by joining the beginning and end point. Yeah, so take x sine 1 by x, or take for example x sine 1 by x or something that will yeah, and you can use that function to manufacture a curve which is not rectifiable. This is not so important for us, therefore I'm not discussing all that. Non-rectifiable curves, all our curves are going to be nice, functions are going to be all holomorphic, etc. So these, these in some sense, these from the point of view of this course, at least, that those are pathologies. So I'm not spending time discussing them, so they don't really matter to us. Okay, so
Sir, how can we prove this stronger form?
How can we prove? Well,
because we can't apply Green's theorem here, right?
no, we cannot. You cannot. So you have to work more. I mean, Um, it's it's you have to do some more sort of a little more thorough and detailed analysis. I cannot answer the question. I cannot give a short reply to that question, how to prove it, but one has to do more work. Yeah. Some finer analysis is involved. Well, philosophically, let me put it philosophically. Why you would expect something like this to be true? If you choose some simple closed curve which is not rectifiable, sorry, simple closed rectifiable curve, but it may not be differentiable, let us say, then intuitively you can at least you can think of approximating that curve by a differentiable curve, or at least a piecewise differentiable curve. And since it is zero for that, you can take limit along a family of differentiable simple closed curves which tend to this rectifiable curve, and on each of them the integral is zero, so on the limit also the integral will be zero. If you like, that's at least a believable argument. So therefore it's not, in some sense it's not surprising, because you expect the nice curves to be dense in the space of all curves, and by taking some kind of limit you expect these things to be true. Yeah, I hope that's at least a partial answer to your question. Okay, so that completes the discussion for the day. I'll stop the recording.